This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark Magnuson.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Wednesday, August 24th, 2022, and we're so glad you could join us. In today's show, we talk with Matt Leininger of BASF about smart spraying technology. And as always, we will take a look at the ag weather outlook. But first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
At the end of another trading day, we are joined now by Tyler Schau of agmarket.net. And Tyler, what did you see on the grain markets today?
It looked kind of like the Pro Farmer Tour kind of hit some states that have a little bit better yields than what we saw to start with in the western part of the Corn Belt and the far east over in Ohio and Indiana. Monday and Tuesday were some pretty disappointing yield checks and reports from the field from the Pro Farmer Tour. And we knew as the week progressed, we were going to get into some better growing conditions. And that's precisely what you're seeing. You're starting to see some yield checks come out of the state of Iowa on corn at 200 bushel plus per acre. Soybean pod counts are increasing. And so the crop just starting to look a little bit better and you know, a little bit of a fewer nerves in the marketplace and a little less buying. Plus, you had a lot of buying happen the last 2 days. We had a 40-cent move up from the open of the week to, and actually at one point this morning, 50-cent move up. So I think you're getting some farmer selling and just, you know, a little cooling off of the market, which wouldn't surprise me a bit to see us push a little lower over the next few days.
Tyler, what have we seen from outside influences on the markets?
A lot of volatility. If we got to take a look at the crude oil market today on a 5-minute chart, we saw within the matter of about a lot of cases 10 and 15 minutes, we saw $1 to $1.50 per gallon swings in the crude oil market. Financials have chopped up and down. The dollar traded really high early this morning and about midday sold off. So we're seeing a lot of move in the macro markets. A lot of people trying to figure out what the Fed's going to do. You know, they're meeting in Jackson Hole this week. So there's a lot of people looking to see if they can glean any inside information. And that's just going to have a lot of markets panicky. There's a lot more talk again today from the macro scale that we're going to start seeing some, you know, the recession word peek back in. You know, that was a real big topic there a month ago, 2 months ago. It kind of disappeared for a little bit with some of the better economic indicators that came out. And you're starting to hear that R word pop up again and put a little panic into markets.
We've also seen that Ukraine, of course, has kind of been an ever-present influence on the markets, but we've recently got some reports about China potentially having to import a little bit more than we maybe even expected. So how is that influencing the market as well?
Yeah, China's going through a pretty big drought, like a lot of other places in the world this year. They've been susceptible to that drought. They're gonna, you know, China does not want a hungry population. They're gonna make sure they've got food, which means they're going to be importing more and more grains. There was a big sale to China reported by the USDA on a flash sale this morning. I think 517,000 or a million metric ton. Boy, you're talking that's a big export announcement, and then to see soybeans fall apart throughout the day, that's fairly common. It's kind of, you know, I would say whenever we see soybeans move up for no apparent reason, which we kind of saw late last week and again early this week, it's probably China in sniffing around to get some bought. The announcement came out today, and the buy the rumor, sell the fact. But China is going to step in. They're going to be buying grain, and right now with the Argentina farmers holding on tight to their soybeans, they came to the U.S. It would be great to see them continuing to come back over the next few days and weeks.
Tyler, turning our attention to the livestock markets, what were the takeaways from today?
I think the live cattle market is still trying to chew through that really heavy kill that's sitting out in front of us. The cattle on feed report came out last Friday. Said there's a lot of cattle in feedlots ready to go to the chains. We're going to have to slug through that. The feeder calf market, I've been saying for quite some time, is very highly dependent on this rainfall in the southern plains. If they start getting steady rains and producers feel like there's a chance at growing some grass and some hay for next year, you'll probably start to see that movement of cows into feedlots slow down, and you'll probably also start to see some more heifer retention. Up until that point, cows are going to go to town, heifers are going to go to town, and that just puts a lot of added pounds into the feedlots. And whenever that happens, it's going to keep a lid on fat cattle and feeder calf prices to some extent. But if they start getting rains, and they did get some pretty good rains in South Texas this week, if they continue to get rains and the optimism changes, I think that spigot will shut off, and that will be the signal that the feeder calf market's about to run. Hogs, I think hogs have really struggled this week, basically due to China economic news. Really hard to get a strong rally on hogs. One, they were obviously pretty high priced. Two, if you're number one export buyer, if they're struggling economically, they're probably going to slow down export or imports of protein. And I think that's just the reaction the market's had, is it's going to back away from that hog market till it gets confirmation that China's willing to come in and buy.
More great analysis from the team at agmarket.net. Tyler, if our listeners and viewers want to get in touch, what's their best way to do so?
One, I always tell people, check out our website, agmarket.net. There's a ton of great information there. You can find all of our contact info. Sign up for our Ag Intel. We publish a ton of Ag Intel. Check it out on a 30-day free trial. If they want to call me directly, the number is 701-987-6009.
He's Tyler Schau from agmarket.net. Tyler, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to talking again soon.
Thanks for having me.
That was Tyler Schau from agmarket.net, and it's time now to take a look at the closing numbers brought to you by the folks at Bar Chart.
September corn up 5 3/4 at 665 3/4. December corn up 2 even at 657 1/4. September soybeans down 6 even at 1560 3/4. November soybeans down 4 even at 1457 even. Soybean meal for October up $1.10 at 432.80. Soybean oil for October is down 89 cents at 66.80. Chicago wheat up 12 1/4 at 795 even. Minneapolis spring wheat up 7 3/4 at 907 3/4. And for Kansas City hard red wheat up 13 3/4 at 896 1/4. On the Merc, live cattle for August down 30 cents at 141.32. Feeder cattle for August up 32 cents at 181.22. Lean hogs for October down $2.52 at 90.37. Pork cutouts for October down $1.75 at 101.62, and Class 3 milk down 2 cents at $20.06.
And that's been a check of our Ag Market recap here on Ag Matters PM. Now we're going to take a quick break. We will hear from our sponsor next, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. And when we come back, I will talk with BASF's Matt Leininger. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. BASF held a field day a couple of weeks ago to show off some of their developing products. Right now, we will visit with BASF's Matt Leininger about their new smart sprayer technology.
Matt, let's start with the basics. What are the benefits of a smart sprayer over a traditional spraying technology that you would have?
Well, I'm glad you guys were able to come out here. We're really excited about this technology. You know, it's a joint venture between Bosch and BASF. And about 2016, they came together and said, hey, we need to bring new innovations to the market because farmers continue to struggle with the same things, weed resistance, efficiencies, etc. And so really what we brought to the table is a smart sprayer. which will allow a customer to go through the field and spray only where needed on non-residual and custom or contact herbicides, and then still with the second tank spray residual. So not only will it give you better efficacy, but also be able to cover more acres.
So that's going to save you money with the efficacy side of things, but is the entry cost prohibitive at all to just a small farmer? Would that affect him, or is it going to be something where you're going to save money in the long run so it evens out?
That is a great question, and we continue to look at that 2-year return on investment for a grower. It matters how the grower uses it or the customer uses it. You know, if they're going to do a lot on green on brown, green on green, etc., that also drives a lot. And how they go about doing it, what's their weed pressure, how do they see themselves using this sprayer is going to be really important on that return on investment. But right now, we're looking at 2 different models. One costs more on the acre or investment per acre. One is more of an upfront fee, if you will, for the hardware. Again, we're not making the sprayers necessarily. We're adding the technology onto existing sprayers.
So the technology we're talking about, more of a precision-based spraying and finding those spots where you need to hit those weeds on the field. But if you did have a heavy amount of weeds in a field, would it be better to go with the broadcast spraying overall, or would this be an option still, even if it was heavily?
Well, you ask a great question. Now, I think today we continue to talk about the smart sprayer and what it does, and a lot of people get caught up really big on the savings. You know, you hear that a lot in publications. You know, for us, we don't look at it that way. You know, savings is really driven on weed pressure, not so much the technology. It's dealt with, have you been using residuals in the past? Has Mother Nature played you a tough hand? Or what species are out there? So for us, yeah, there's going to be times where you have where their nozzles are barely turning on the smart sprayer, and there's going to be times where they're on a lot. But don't forget, you're collecting data. The data you're collecting, it doesn't matter if the sprayer is on or off, you're still collecting that data. So on a 120-foot sprayer, you're taking over 1,000 images a second. So now all these images, all this intel that we will be able to share not only with the customer, but they could work with their crop consultant, their agronomist, and make better recommendations going forward. So that's where machine learning is really exciting. So every year you do this, you continue to learn more about your operation.
And the setup you showed us today with the smart sprayer, it didn't have to be perfect conditions in order to work properly. Could you explain how it's still able to work even if it's not bright and sunny out?
Well, exactly. And you know, I think that's something really important. A lot of times folks think that, hey, we put on lighting just for that reason, so you could spray at night, but it's actually not the case. We believe with the heavy canopies in, you know, the cloudy days, or maybe along a tree line, it doesn't give us the efficacy that we would like. And really, we understand leaving just a few weeds behind is too many. And so as we all know, some of these weed species give off millions of seeds over just a couple plants. We have the feeling as we have to get all the weeds. And so our motto is leave no weed behind. We're not so much caught up into the standpoint of leaving some weeds and thinking it's going to get canopied. We don't believe that works here in the U.S. We believe you have to cover and kill every weed.
And there was even some fail-safes, weren't there, for if the ground wasn't level or it was going over an area that's not the most easily accessible, where it would spray regardless, just hoping to get that area?
No, you're right on. You know, one thing that we continue to hear from customers, a false positives when you spray where there's not a weed, a false negatives where you don't spray where you should have. Right now, growers all day will tell you, I'd rather spray where there's not a weed. Don't take that chance. And so we have, if you're going too fast or if you're going over a terrace and it lifts up too much the boom and the camera's not able to get a good enough image, it will turn on every time. And so we continue to listen to the customers, evolve, and get better on what they're wanting. So one of the things they asked us for is make sure we have a default.
Matt, do you think this is the future of farming as far as spraying is concerned? Do you think we'll see this across the state of Iowa from farmers in the future?
I absolutely do. I think we'll look back in 30 years and we tell people, man, we were actually broadcasting contact herbicides, even when there was no weeds out there. And you're going to probably tell your kids that they think you're crazy. And that's one of the reasons I came over to this group and lead up the joint venture, is from the standpoint, I really believe this is not only the right thing to do, but it's something that will help generations to come.
What do you think is the next step then in order to make it accessible for everybody and make sure that everyone can have a chance to use something like this?
You know, from what we have changed from 21 to 22, we have advanced tremendously. You know, a couple of things we want to make sure we hit the speeds that are the expectations of the grower and retailer. We also want to make sure the efficacy is there. We're killing weeds that are there and not just spraying all the time where you don't need to. So in 23, we made huge strides on the proof of concept. So next year you'll see a fleet of sprayers out there and to continue to test. We believe, and like our parents of Bosch and BASF, we want to walk before we run. We're not a startup that will actually just take off and get a product out there. We have a lot to lose and a lot to protect, and so we want to make sure in 23 when we roll out another fleet of sprayers that we're putting them through the ringer, making sure it's real life situations and scalability. And so in 24, if we would launch it, that there is not only meets expectations of the customer but exceeds them.
And Matt, if people want to learn more about BASF's smart spraying technology, where would they head to?
You'd go onto our website or on LinkedIn or any of the social media sites. If you just Google Bosch BASF Smart Farming, we're on all them sites.
That was BASF's Matt Leininger. As for right now, let's take a look at the ag weather outlook. Today is a very nice summer day outside. It is a little bit overcast, but the sun has been peeking through some with some partly sunny skies. Did have some spotty showers in different areas of the state, but in Des Moines today, we have been dry. Coming up next, we will take a look at the National Weather Service's outlook for the state of Iowa.
As you can see from the National Weather Service, we do have some chances for rain around the state of Iowa. Today, we have mostly sunny skies across most of the state with chances for isolated storms in the north. Temperatures range from the low 80s to about 90. Tonight, mostly clear to partly cloudy skies. Lows overnight should range from low to upper 60s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy skies with a chance for thunderstorms. Highs will be in the upper 70s to upper 80s. Turning now to the affiliate weather map for tomorrow. Cherokee, northwest Iowa will see sunny skies and storms with a high of 79. Shenandoah, mostly sunny with showers and a high around 87. Centrally, in the middle of the state, Des Moines, mostly sunny with a chance for showers and a high of 87. Albia, mostly sunny, some showers and 86. In Waterloo, sunny with storms and 83 degrees. And Clinton, looking to be cloudy and rainy with a high of 84.
For a more detailed forecast in your part of the state, check with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. That's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. You can find our video content and previous episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel, and don't forget when you visit our YouTube channel to subscribe as well. Also, you can find our free twice daily market podcast on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. On behalf of Riley Smith and Dustin Huffman, thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.